Hey there, fellow ASMR travelers, and welcome back to the Window Seat ASMR. Today we're gonna do something completely different from other videos. In previous videos, we've done a couple of tours of Tokyo and New York City, but today we're on a completely different planet, Arrakis. You have likely stumbled across this video because you're a fan of Dune. Either the novel or the epic movie that's out in theaters just now. But today we find ourselves in the deserts of Arrakis, and we're sitting here in this Royal Atreides Ornithopter. So the first thing we're gonna do is unfold the wings. And let's get the engine started. If you haven't seen the movie, I would recommend it. Both part 1 and part 2, they are fantastic. This ornithopter flies beautifully, and we are doing this thanks to Microsoft Flight Simulator's Dune expansion. But I am going to warn you, I am not the best pilot. So sit back, relax, and put your life in my hands as we soar above Arrakis. So we're gonna take off in a second here. I am slightly concerned about motion sickness. I know it's a thing even on YouTube, and this is a very quick and responsive aircraft, so we're gonna try and keep it quite smooth for you. And we are airborne. So we'll get a little bit of altitude, and then I'll start to tell you some facts about Arrakis and some of the lore from the Dune universe. There will be no spoilers today, don't worry. I am not gonna mention anything that happens in the movie or the upcoming movies, because I've read the books too. So let me tell you a little bit about the Ornithopter itself. Unlike traditional aircraft with fixed wings or your helicopter with its rotary blades, ornithopters achieve flight by flapping their wings, kind of like mimicking the motion of a bird. Its name originates from the Greek words ornithos, meaning bird, and pteron, meaning wing. Although personally, I think it looks more like a dragonfly, especially when you get a view of the wings like that. Maybe a hummingbird. But it does look fantastic. I think Denis Villeneuve is a creative genius when it comes to creating sci-fi and creating these believable, epic sets and props. Ornithopters are known for their versatility and their adaptability to various different environments. They can navigate through dense forest, soar over open ocean, and even glide effortlessly over the vast deserts of planets like Arrakis, which we're going to be doing today for the next 20-25 minutes. I should note, I don't want to disappoint anyone, but there will be no worms today. My apologies, but hey, that's part of the charm, right? Keeps things mysterious. You can save them for the movie if you haven't seen it already. So let's give you a few facts on Arrakis itself. Arrakis is a desert planet situated in the Canopus star system, and that is located approximately 10.4 light years from Earth. Got a great view of its two moons there, and we'll talk about them a bit later. The planet occupies a strategic location within the Dune universe, making it a focal point for trade and politics. In the books, it doesn't have a specific discovery date. It is portrayed as this ancient and long-established world within the known universe, and it's inhabited by the indigenous Fremen and coveted for its valuable melange spice, which we'll go into a little bit later. We're gonna fly a little bit lower here over these sandstone outcrops. As I said, I want to keep the flight relatively smooth, but I don't want it to be boring either, so we're gonna alternate with our altitude and maybe do some dives and glides on the way. I think we'll come up through this little canyon here, and once we're out of that, I'll start reading my facts again, as I really have to concentrate when I'm flying this thing. So, as you can see, Arrakis is primarily covered by these pretty expansive deserts, with vast seas of sand dunes stretching as far as the eye can see. The landscape is arid and incredibly barren, with minimal vegetation and rocky terrain dominating much of the planet's surface. In the intense heat of the day, temperatures on Arrakis can climb to extreme highs, often exceeding 50 degrees Celsius. That's 122 degrees Fahrenheit or more. The planet's lack of cloud cover and atmospheric moisture allows sunlight to penetrate the surface unhindered, and that makes it insanely hot and inhospitable to most life. In contrast, after sunset, temperatures on Arrakis can drop pretty sharply due to the absence of atmospheric insulation and heat retention. I believe we see similar things happening in vast deserts like the Sahara on Earth. Nighttime lows can plummet to near freezing temperatures, particularly in the vast open desert regions where heat is quickly dissipated into the cold vacuum of space. So let's do a little dive here. As you can see, the aircraft is pretty responsive, and it's quite easy to recover from that and gain speed. Rainfall on Arrakis is incredibly rare, and the planet is considered one of the driest in the known universe. Any moisture that does fall quickly evaporates under the intense heat of the sun. As I mentioned earlier, the planet has 2 moons. The first is called Muad'Dib, and that is the largest of the 2 moons orbiting Arrakis. I'm not gonna give you any spoilers, as I said, so I won't tell you too much about why it's named that. But I think in Denis Villeneuve's movies, they refer to that large crater-like structure on the surface as the hand of God. And we'll try and get a bit of a better view of it as we fly out here. The smaller moon is called Harmontep. It doesn't hold the same significance as Muad'Dib, but it still exerts its gravitational influence on the planet and plays a role in shaping its climate too. So we'll fly around here and get another view of the desert. They really have done a fantastic job of capturing Arrakis in this sim. It's really quite impressive, and you can see the vastness of the desert in front of you. decrease our altitude a bit. Kind of half glide around here, but keep the engines running. Don't worry, we're not gonna crash. I hope. Never trust a pilot who says he's not gonna crash. So I think what we'll do next is we'll head up towards the city that you might have seen in the distance earlier. And that city is Arrakis. If we look out the side here, we might get a view of those moons again. If I can find them. Oh, there we go. There we go. There they are. So the larger one there is Muad'Dib, and the smaller one is Harmontep. You can see that large crater-like scarring on the bigger moon, and I think it's Gurney in the first movie who says the locals call that one the Hand of God, although I don't think that's referenced in the books. So let's try and gain a little bit of speed here and make our way to Arrakis. We can start to see it in the distance there, surrounded by those mountains. So Arrakis itself is often described as the capital city, or the administrative center of Arrakis. It is the biggest population center on the planet, or known population center on the planet, and it's a focal point for trade, politics, and culture. There's another great view of the moons there. So we're coming up on it pretty hard, as you can see in the movies and Denis' interpretation of the universe. It is surrounded by these mountains here, and they provide the city with a bit of protection against the elements. Arrakis is located in the northern hemisphere of Arrakis, and it's situated amidst the vast deserts and sand dunes that dominate the landscape. The architecture of Arrakis reflects the harsh desert environment of Arrakis. We'll get a closer look in a minute, but structures are built to withstand the extreme temperatures and the sandstorms that are prevalent on the planet, with thick walls and shaded courtyards, providing some relief from the intense heat. So we'll slow it down here, we'll apply the brakes a little bit. The air brakes on the vehicle here, and we'll get a good view of Arrakis. The city also serves as the seat of power for the ruling authorities, whether they be representatives of the imperial government, the noble houses of the Landsraad, or other factions vying for control of the planet. The city is a melting pot of different cultures, with inhabitants drawn from various backgrounds and factions across the known universe. It's a place where different cultures, languages, and traditions converge. It's also a hub of economic activity, and it attracts merchants, traders, and entrepreneurs from across the galaxy. The city is home to various cultural landmarks and points of interest, including government buildings, religious temples, and entertainment venues. It is protected by something called the Shield Wall, which keeps the city sheltered from the extreme storms that form on the planet. I always struggle a little bit to maintain control of the Ornithopter when we're traveling this slowly, so apologies if there's any sudden movements or turns. I think that building at the end there is the headquarters where the Atreides are resident in the movies. We'll fly a little bit closer, but maybe get turned before we get too close to these mountains. I think the one thing that I wasn't a fan of with the movies, and this isn't a spoiler by the way, so don't worry, I don't think they really showed Arrakis as this bustling hub or bustling city. I never got the sense in the movies that it was like that, and I would have liked to have seen rather a little bit more about the things going on, but I guess the movie's already like 3 hours long, and I guess they had to cut quite a lot before it got to the theaters, so I'm not going to complain too much. So let's turn, get a little bit of altitude so that we don't crash into the side of this hill, and fly over to the rest of the city. Please, if you're enjoying this video, like and subscribe. We are very much in the early days. I don't know why I say we, it's just me. So I am very much in the early days of creating this channel. Try to come up with new ideas and see what resonates best with people. I hope that you're enjoying this, and I hope you enjoy my other videos. Please like and subscribe, and if you have any suggestions, feedback, or requests even for future videos, then please let me know in the comments. So let's fly out over Arrakis again, and we'll make our way back out to the desert. We'll gain a little bit of speed in a second. I mentioned earlier that the city is protected by something called the Shield Wall, and we'll dive a little bit just for the sake of it, why not? So the city is protected by the Shield Wall, and that keeps it sheltered from the extreme sandstorms that form on the planet. They're called Coriolis storms. Arrakis as a planet is prone to frequent and ferocious sandstorms, and they are fueled by high winds whipping across the desert landscape. We'll use those winds to glide a little bit here. You can probably see there that the wings weren't moving, that's us gliding now. These storms can engulf vast areas of the planet. I think in the movies they say you cannot survive such a storm without shelter, so they pose a pretty significant threat to life and a hazard for the people and the other living creatures that inhabit Arrakis. But the planet is not lifeless. So I mentioned the Fremen earlier, and maybe we should talk a little bit about them. Apologies if any of my facts are wrong or off in this video. I am really quite enthusiastic about Dune, but I read it when I was a kid, and I've been loving the movies in the theaters, so yeah, if I'm wrong, let me know. So the Fremen are a pretty hardy and resourceful people who have adapted over centuries to the harsh desert environment of Arrakis. They possess extensive knowledge of desert survival techniques, including water conservation, desert navigation, and combat skills honed in the unforgiving sands of the desert. Water is very, very scarce on Arrakis, as I mentioned earlier, and the Fremen have developed sophisticated techniques for conserving and recycling this precious resource. They use specialized garments called still suits to capture and recycle bodily moisture, and that ensures that every drop of water is preserved and reused. It's kind of disgusting when you think about it, but necessary in such a harsh environment. I've also always wondered how people in Arrakis bathe and what the smell must be like, but let's not get into that. So we'll bring the aircraft around, concentrate for a second. Traditionally, the Fremen lead a semi-nomadic lifestyle, and that means that they move between various sieges. And a siege is an underground settlement scattered across the desert. Sieges serve as communal living spaces and centers of Fremen culture, where families and people gather for lots of different purposes, like to share resources, to take shelter, exchange knowledge, pray, and plan for their survival in the desert. The Fremen have a really rich cultural heritage that includes oral traditions, rituals, and customs passed down through generations. They have their own language, religion, and belief systems, and that is deeply rooted in their desert environment and shaped by their experiences and survival on Arrakis. The Fremen are not the only creature that inhabits Arrakis, though. There are also the sandworms, and sandworms in the books and in the movies as well are described as these gigantic, elongated worms with segmented bodies covered in tough, armor-like scales. Their mouths are lined with rows of razor-sharp teeth, and they can grow to incredible lengths, with some specimens reaching hundreds of meters in size. They are well adapted to the harsh desert environment, with specialized respiratory systems, and that allows them to survive in the arid conditions of the deep desert. Sandworms undergo a complex life cycle that begins with the hatching of tiny larvae, and they are known as sand trout, and they inhabit the sand seas of Arrakis. As these sand trout mature, they undergo metamorphosis into larger sandworm-like creatures, and they are known as pre-spice mass. Over time, pre-spice mass can coalesce into fully mature sandworms, which continue to grow and roam the desert, creating spice as they go. The Fremen have a deeply spiritual and reverential interpretation of sandworms, which they refer to as Shia Halud. So we know that the sandworms are the source of the spice, and we know that it's really important. But why is that? Firstly, regular consumption of spice can prolong life and enhance vitality, making it a highly coveted substance, especially among the wealthy and the powerful. Its ability to extend life makes it an essential component of the aristocratic lifestyle in the Dune universe. But what really makes it so vital is that it's the only substance capable of enabling safe and efficient travel between the stars. Navigators of the Spacing Guild use spice-induced prescience to guide ships through fold space, allowing for faster-than-light travel between star systems. Prescience, I guess, is essentially the ability to see something before it happens. So the guild navigators, with their limited prescience achieved from consuming spice, can use it to find a safe path through the stars. Without spice, interstellar civilization would collapse, and interstellar travel would be almost impossible. The noble houses of the Lansra, that is, the great houses of the universe, as well as the ruling Padisha Emperor, vie for control over Arrakis and its spice, as it provides them with wealth, leverage, military strength, and insane power. Additionally, the Bene Gesserit Sisterhood incorporates spice into their training and breeding programs, using its properties to enhance their abilities and manipulate bloodlines. So we'll get some final altitude here, and we'll take one last dive. Why not? So get level, and here we go. So head for the ground, and just before we hit it, we'll extend the wings here and glide for a bit. Sun's starting to set here in Arrakis, coming towards the end of the video, but we'll see if we can do one final maneuver. Maybe something a little bit more risky. I would be lying if I said I hadn't practiced this like a million times. So we'll keep gliding for a couple more minutes, and then we'll try something a little bit different. I love the fact that the sun actually sets in this game, and time is a real thing. It's not static. It just makes it feel so much more realistic and authentic, even on an alien planet like this one. As I said, if you haven't seen the Dune movies already, go and see them, especially if you're a sci-fi fan. They are epic. They are long, but you will get sucked into the lore, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So let's head towards a bit of a gap in the rock, and we're gonna try and fly through it for our final stunt of the video. Here we go. We're coming around and getting lower, and let's glide through it if we can. And get a bit lower and away from the walls, and this is going to be far too close. I do not like this. And turn